Thank you all for being here this afternoon. Greetings to all of you from the Woodland Chamber of Commerce, chamber members, business owners, managers, community leaders, and guests. We're glad to welcome you to the annual State of the City event hosted here at the Woodland Community and Senior Center. This gathering highlights the strength, resilience, and vibrant spirit of our community, providing a fantastic opportunity for us to unite, celebrate our collective successes, and forge a stronger future together. My name is Clay Merrill. I'm a government relations representative for Pacific Gas and Electric Company, as well as a proud and sitting board member for the board of directors for the Woodland Chamber of Commerce. So I'm glad to be here with all of you today. Today's a great day. We are going to reflect on the accomplishments of the past year while looking ahead to the exciting opportunities that await the city of Woodland. As we listen to today's presentations and presenters, let us remember the power of collaboration and the importance of nurturing relationships that drive growth and prosperity. Give your feedback, if not today, perhaps later. Contact our staff at the Chamber office or reach out to the city staff. Together we can build a future that reflects the values and aspirations of every Woodland resident and business. So first of all, I want to express my sincere gratitude to each of you for your continued support of the Chamber. Your contributions not only enable us to advocate for and strengthen our local business community, but also fund vital programs that benefit Woodland residents. Every year, the Chamber proudly presents the Woodland Chamber Twyla Jane Thompson Scholarship to local students seeking higher education. This scholarship, created by the Woodland Chamber, honors the legacy of Twyla Jane Thompson, a devoted Yolo County resident, former president, and longtime volunteer with our organization. This scholarship is open to students from Woodland pursuing degrees in agriculture or business-related fields. In 2025, we awarded 2 students $1,000 each through the Yuba Community College Foundation. And we are excited to announce that we are on track to exceed that amount in 2026. Your support makes these opportunities possible, so thank you very much for that. Before introducing our keynote speakers, I would first like to thank our sponsors who have made this remarkable event possible. First, a very special thank you goes out to our leading sponsor, Dignity Health, whose continued support has been instrumental in the success of our program year after year. Thank you, Dignity Health. So with that, let's take a moment to view a message from Dignity Health, and then we'll hear from Gina Bravo, President and CEO of Woodland Memorial Hospital.
I want to show you my black rules. I'm looking this way.
It was great to see her out in the garden moving around.
Aren't they gorgeous? Living pirate ship. It's our cat's pirate ship.
He never stopped. She kept moving.
Squash, bell peppers, tomatoes, of course.
This story started for me long before the diagnosis of cancer.
I'm Debbie, and it's not Deborah. That's the name my mother said called me if I was in trouble as a kid.
What are you thinking? What do I do? Please find me. So I've been married 54 years, will be 55 years. I can see that her abilities to eat and mobility and things changed long before we actually knew that she had cancer.
It was really painful when I was in the process of being diagnosed because I had hurt for quite a few months and it was getting more intense. Dr. Tibulio, the one who verbalized the diagnosis, ovarian cancer advanced. When I said I didn't want to do chemotherapy, he said, well, I really would like for you to, because then you're only looking at 2.5 to 3 months. He said that they were going to do the genetic counseling. It was really easy, which it was.
When you're diagnosed with cancer, you try to identify something in your gene. Patients who have BRCA gene have issues with something called DNA repair. Meaning our body is constantly trying to maintain or repair our DNA, right? And that's where chemotherapy is getting to. And if you're already struggling to repair your DNA in those cancer cells because of the gene, chemotherapy is, there are certain chemotherapies that will hit those cancer cells more than the rest of the body. We almost always see responses. in patients with BRCA associated tumor with certain kinds of chemotherapy?
I did have the gene.
So normal CA-125 numbers are 0 to 35. When we went and talked to Dr. Figurio, her numbers were 4,000.
I had chemotherapy, then I had surgery, then I had chemotherapy, and after being off chemotherapy for a while, I finally started having some energy.
I think after the second chemo treatment, that number went from 4,000 down to 50. And the doctors themselves were kind of like amazed at the drastic change that had happened.
Really is my nurse that I love, who did my first infusion and me after that. So I can honestly say that the people who work at the Dignity Healthcare, I consider them my friends. The people who have been placed in our path are very much angels on earth. Okay, well, it's early spring and we haven't decided exactly what's going in there, but probably the new containers are probably all going to have squash plants, or we actually had one pumpkin plant and they had one cool pumpkin that was perfect.
Let's welcome Gina Bravo to the stage.
Can I say just wow? Every time I see that video, I get the chills. Really takes us back and a powerful reminder of why we do what we do. Debbie's journey is one of resilience, hope, and determination. It's also a reflection of the extraordinary physicians, nurses, and caregivers who show up every day in every way for our community. There is no greater privilege than earning the trust of our patients and helping them return to the people in the moments that matter most for them. At Woodland Memorial Hospital, caring for our community is our mission. And while that work begins with exceptional health care, it doesn't end there. We know that health is about more than what happens inside a clinic or a hospital. It's influenced by where people live, where they can access services, the support services around them, and the opportunities available to them and their families. That's why Dignity Health continues to invest in the long-term health and well-being of Yolo County. This year, through Common Spirit's Homeless Health Initiative, we invested $375,000 in 2 affordable housing developments, Freedom Garden Court Woodland Opportunity Village, and Choice Neighborhoods in Tupelo Project. And I see you, Ian, out there. These projects will help create stable housing opportunities and stronger support systems for individuals and families in our community. This investment builds on the more than $3 million Dignity Health has contributed locally to address housing insecurity, because we know that stable housing is one of the foundations of good health. We're also proud to support local organizations that are expanding access to care and improving quality life throughout Yolo County. In fact, just this week, Dignity Health's Greater Sacramento market just announced more than $1.3 million in community health improvement grants to 14 nonprofit organizations serving both Sacramento and Yolo County. Through these community grants, organizations like RISE, bringing bilingual mental health services directly into schools, serving students and families in Western Yolo County. We are also continuing to support Thriving Pink's efforts to provide breast cancer education, outreach, and support for local women and families. Beyond these grants, Woodland Memorial Hospital continues to invest in our community in other meaningful ways. Earlier this year, our extraordinary Woodland Memorial Hospital volunteers donated an electric vehicle to our Enhanced Care Management Program, helping ensure that transportation is not a barrier for anyone when it comes to receiving care, services, and most importantly, their independence. These investments reflect something we believe deeply. The health of a community depends on all of us. It depends on collaboration between healthcare providers, businesses, educators, nonprofit organizations, local government, and community leaders. They are built by people who care enough to invest in the future of our community. For more than 120 years, yes, 120 years, Woodland Memorial Hospital has been proud to serve this community. Today, we are equally as proud to invest in it. Thank you to the Woodland Chamber, the City of Woodland, our community partners, and everyone in the room for your leadership and your commitment to making Woodland an even stronger, healthier, and more vibrant community. We are honored to be a part of Woodland's story. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. And again, thank you, Dignity Health, not only for your sponsorship today, but for all the great work you're doing in Woodland. We really appreciate you. And we also have some other sponsors that helped make today possible that we want to recognize. First of all, our diamond sponsors, Cache Creek Casino and Comcast. Thank you for your sponsorship today. And then our Emerald sponsors, Clark Pacific. Thank you, Clark Pacific. Embark, Marriott Fairfield Inn and Suites and Holiday Inn Express, Perfect Union, Travis Credit Union, Waste Management of Woodland, Woodland Cannabis Dispensary, Woodland Community College, Woodland Motors and Woodland Ford, and YOLO Federal Credit Union. Thank you to our Emerald sponsors. And also a big thank you to Maria's Cantina for catering today's meal. Hopefully you're all enjoying your lunch. Thank you, Maria's Cantina. Also, thank you to the City of Woodland for hosting us today at the Woodland Community and Senior Center. Thank you to the city. Also, and also Woodland TV, who will be publishing and recording. They're doing a publishing and a recording of this event so the whole community can view it. Thank you, Woodland TV. We also want to recognize our photographer, Charles Vincent McDonald, who is photographing for us today. So thank you, Charles, for your service. Let's also take a moment to recognize our local leaders and elected officials in attendance. So when I say your name, if you just want to stand and do the Queen Elizabeth wave, that'd be great. Lucy Brazil and Moises Diaz, representing Office of Congressman Mike Thompson. Elijah Navarro, representing the Office of Senator Christopher Cabaldon. Eliana Pimentel, representing Assembly Majority Leader Cecilia Aguiar Curry. Yolo County Chief Administrative Officer Mike Webb. We also have Jesse Salinas, Yolo County Clerk, Assessor, and Recorder. One of the busiest men in Yolo County right now, too. Of course, our Woodland Mayor, Tom Stollard. Councilmember Rich Landsberg. Councilmember Tanya Garcia Cadena. Councilmember David Moreno. There you go. Woodland City Manager Ken Hyatt. Woodland Police Chief Ryan Canan. The Chancellor of Yuba Community College District, Dr. Sean Pan. President of Woodland Community College District, Dr. Lizette Navarrete. Yuba Community College District Board of Trustees, Jose Garcia, Jesse Ortiz, and Richard Teagarden. Superintendent of the Yolo County Office of Education, Garth Lewis. Superintendent of the Woodland Joint Unified School District, Elodia Ortega Lampkin. And then Woodland Joint Unified School District Board Trustee, Noel Rodriguez. Thank you all for being here today. We're grateful to have you with us. Okay, it is now my pleasure to introduce our city manager, Ken Hyatt. Ken Hyatt, who is currently the city manager of Woodland, is not only a proud native of Yolo County, but also a graduate of UC Davis. Ken brings a vast amount of local knowledge to his position. Before stepping into the role of city manager in 2020, Ken had served the city of Woodland for 7 years, following a 20-year tenure with the city of Davis. For the past 13 years, Ken has been devoted to fostering a thriving business environment while overseeing infrastructure that facilitates our growth. His commitment to environmental stewardship and community development ensures that our city of trees remains an outstanding destination for families and businesses alike. Ken has played a key role in collaborating with the Woodland Chamber of Commerce. Let's give a big City of Woodland welcome to our city manager, Ken Hyatt.
Okay, you guys hear me pretty well? All right, good afternoon, Clay. I don't know if you found that summary of my bio on ChatGPT, but I'm going to steal it. Anyways, before I get started, I always want to give a huge shout out to Cynthia and staff at the Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event, giving us an opportunity to share with the community. Oh, there you go, all done. Did it already? Look at that. I'm efficient. Anyway, Cynthia, your staff, thank you for pulling all this together. Especially want to shout out to the sponsors, right? So Clay read off all the sponsors that help make this event not just happen, but more tasteful and more affordable, less expensive, right? But those names are the names that show up on almost every event that we have in this town. So quick clap again for all the sponsors that don't just make this event happen, but so many other activities in this community a reality. So thank you for that. So this is always one of my most favorite and enjoyable events of the year, mostly because the folks in this room truly are the leaders in our community. They represent a broad cross-section of our community, from large businesses like Clark Pacific to smaller businesses like Z Specialty and beyond, right? But also healthcare, education, nonprofits. It takes everybody in this room to make the community that we live in and enjoy so special. So thank you for that. It's great to have everybody in the room to be able to share, right? What is the state of the city, right? From our lens, our perspective, you have your own lenses, but from what we see and what we focus on, it's just a privilege to be able to share with you just the dedicated service and work that our city does. And so over the next, hopefully less than 15 minutes, 20 minutes, bear with me, I want to be able to share with you, of course, top of mind issues like fiscal, what's the condition of the city fiscally, but this year in particular, as I get more and more impressed meeting our staff and seeing the service that they provide, I'm going to drill down at a department level and share with this group just the great work that's happening at the department level, how that's impacting our community, and then I'll close out with some key initiatives that are really going to help shape and transform our community going forward. So hold on, don't fall asleep. I know you had a wonderful meal, but bear with me here. So let's start with the fiscal situation, right? Tuesday night, City Council unanimously adopted a $250 million budget. That's an annual budget. They did that not just in one night. It took more than 4 to 5 months in walking the council through this process to make the decisions to what to include in that $250 million budget. There was not a single public comment, I think at any of the meetings, maybe one meeting. But the final adoption, right? There was no public comment. So that either means the community really trusts how we steward the taxes that are provided to us to deliver the services, and I'm going to lean into that, or they just don't care, right, that we're spending $250 million of hard-earned taxpayer money, right? But I'm going to lean on the former in that we are doing a fairly good job of providing the services to the community that you expect and you deserve. There is always room for improvement, but as I walk through some of the stats and the data here, hopefully you'll be impressed with how we're able to do that with the level of resource that we have. We're extremely efficient. I'm going to compare to some of our counterparts on what they do with the funding that they have, and I think we're going to match up and exceed that. So as we get into budget, that $250 million a lot of it is allocated and constrained in terms of how we can spend it. So there's legal parameters on how majority of that money can be spent. A lot of it goes to our water and sewer infrastructure and service delivery, as well as the capital projects. But really the discretionary portion of the budget is about $77 million, and that's what we refer to as our general fund budget. And with that $77 million, we provide the majority of the services that our businesses and our residents interact with every day. And so this graphic up here, hopefully you're starting to see in part of our effort to be transparent and forward communicating with our public is a breakdown of where that $77 million goes in terms of expenditures. So you can see a large portion of it is public safety, so police and fire. More than half of that general fund budget goes to provide those police and fire services. Beyond that, community services, administrative services, and all the other smaller functions. And then you'll see that transfer number up there. What does transfer mean? Where does that money go? Well, that number is largely the sales tax add-ons that we have, Measure R, Measure F, revenues that we receive that gets set aside and specifically budgeted to go towards the expenditures that were stipulated in those sales tax measures. And so that additional $8 million there actually goes to provide a lot of the recreation programs, the fire service, police service efforts that were eliminated during the Great Recession and have been brought back as a result of those sales tax dollars. So let's talk about the revenue side. So how do we generate the $77 million to provide those services? And so here's a breakdown of where the $77 million comes from. A lot of that is property tax, but you'll see that the largest chunk comes from sales tax now. And so cities like ours that are older in their age, we're a 150-year-old community that have built out over a long time and have a lot of Prop 13 pre-development, right? The property tax that we get is constrained and limited going forward. And even more so, we're dependent on sales tax to provide the services that I mentioned in the previous slide. And so our dependence on sales tax creates a vulnerability as economic cycles change and expenditures of households and businesses, right, fluctuate. And so it gets very difficult to try to balance a budget going forward on revenues that are somewhat volatile. And so therein lies our challenge. And so over the last 10, 15 years, and a lot of credit goes to my predecessor, Paul Navazio, who really righted the ship when we were in dire fiscal straits after the Great Recession, and really built a strong budget and strong principles and policies around how do we ensure that when times are good, we're not investing in ongoing expenditures that when times get rough, right, create significant challenges. And so we've been very constrained when times are good to not make ongoing expenditure commitments. Instead, we take that excess and we make strategic investments in writing down debt, reducing those costs going forward. We'll hear later today, the community center that we're in right now is now completely paid off, no mortgage. We built a $15 million aquatic center next door here with all cash. There's no debt. So we collect and we pay as we go. We're not leaning in and financing the amenities that the community honestly has been waiting for a long time, but credit to the council to say, look, we're going to wait, we're going to be fiscally prudent, and we'll deliver those facilities and those amenities when we have the resources to do so. So with that, just a quick picture of the revenue side on this general fund, and there's a lot of detail behind this. I'm happy to talk to anybody about the specifics behind this. Encourage folks to, if you really are data wonks and fiscal wonks, go onto our website, go to our fiscal transparency portal. Every budget we have adopted, every independent audit that's been performed on our budget, all of our spending plans for our sales tax measures are there for you to digest and go through. So if you're not bored yet, go to the website, and I assure you, you will be. But it's important information to know for those that want to have it, and it's essential for us to be transparent with our taxpayers and how we invest their money. All right, so I talked a little bit about our fiscal constraints and the policies and the credit, not just to the current council, but prior councils in getting us there. But Despite all of these efforts, and just like every other community, I think, in California right now, we're facing challenges. Costs have escalated exponentially, as we all know in our businesses and even in our own household budgets. So we're not immune to that. Inflationary pressures, whether it's insurance rates, our energy costs, our cost of goods to replace vehicles and apparatus, and you name it, has just skyrocketed, right? So at the same time, our revenues are plateauing. As consumer spending, right, starts to wane off a little bit. So how do we navigate through these budgetary challenging times is difficult, all right? So the budget that was adopted Tuesday night, it was balanced, but it was balanced with reliance on $3.5 million of reserves that we had set aside for the rainy day, right? We still have 20 million more. We have a council policy says we're not going to go below 20% general fund reserve policy, which is about $16 million. But that goes very quickly, right, when we're dealing with budgets that are, in $77 million. We also had to bring $1.5 million worth of budget cuts to the table to get to the council's direction. And within that, we eliminated 5 positions. So when positions get eliminated, services start to decline a little bit, right? But brings me to my next topic. So staffing levels. Another piece of education here. So we get a lot of questions around, gosh, I pay a lot in property tax. How come the city can't provide better services to me with the property taxes I pay? So this slide here represents where your property tax dollars go, right? So for every $10, the city, that's the next slide. City gets 13% of the 1% that you pay in property tax. And so you can see that property tax bill gets split up a lot of different ways, and the city is only a small portion of that. A lot of it goes to the county, and of course the education system. So we're living within a fairly narrow margin of the property tax that's collected. And then the sales tax piece, similarly, right? Pay a lot in sales tax here in California, specifically here in Woodland when you're going to Costco or elsewhere, right? So where does my sales tax, go? Well, not all of it comes here. So for every $10 expenditure, all right, we're getting 17.5 cents here to Woodland. The rest gets divvied up to the state, primarily in other jurisdictions. So again, right, good education piece as we start to ask, voters and residents about how do we, find the right balance between the service delivery that we need and desire and how we're going to pay for it. All right, so staffing levels. So, presumption is, government's bloated and, there's always ways to cut. Well, that is not the case here in Woodland, at least with respect to the city of Woodland. So this graph here shows the staffing levels of the city of Woodland over the last 15 plus years. As you can see, we're more or less on par with where we were, in fact, less than where we were in 2008, 2009. 323 employees that show up every day to provide the emergency services, ensure that your water flows, your toilets flush in the right direction, so on and so forth, right? So not a significant workforce for, I think, the amount of work that goes into day in and day out. So same time, right, our population has grown, so our staffing levels have more or less stayed flat. Population has gone up, new businesses have come into town. As a result, right, how do you continue to provide that same level of service to our community that's expected? And as many county administrators and city managers know, those expectations are only going up, right? That social media and other means of communicating, right, the pressures to provide better service are only going up. So anyhow, continue to find challenge there. Wanted to provide a little bit of perspective, because every time I ask my department heads to give me their budget requests every year, knowing that they're going to be disappointed grossly, in February I say, hey, give me your budget requests, we'll see what we can accommodate in the next year. The top of the list every year is I need X number of positions to provide the services and keep my staff from burning out. Every year they're disappointed, right, with how many positions we're able to add, as you can see. So I asked myself as a city manager, how are we doing relative to some of our counterparts nearby? So I pulled down some data from West Sacramento and Davis, not to say this is what we're aspiring to, but are my department heads asking for too much? Are we really sort of out of balance with the services that we provide? And so as you can see here, we're 30 to 40% below staffing levels of West Sacramento and Davis. Do we provide the same services? In fact, we're very comparable. So we do all the same services as West Sacramento and Davis. In fact, we actually do more. We have our own cemetery. Davis, West Sac do not. They also don't have their own library. The county provides that very well. Thank you, Mike. So we're actually doing, providing more service with lower staffing levels. And so then I start to have a little bit more sympathy with my department heads when they say, I need more staff. So anyhow, my issue, but all of us, right, are impacted as a result. And so as we, start to think about moving forward and being more efficient, there isn't a whole lot of efficiency to be gained except through new technologies, which we're leaning into, and finding ways to continue to provide the high level of service without adding staff. But at some point, right, the thread is going to break. There's too much tension on it, and so I think we're getting close to that. The more and more I talk to my department heads, and on that topic, right. These services cannot continue to be provided at this level without an incredibly talented and dedicated workforce, driven and led by, I think the best executive management team of any city that I've been a part of. So quick thank you to all of our department heads and executive team that are here. I lean on you guys tremendously to respond to the citizen requests and the council requests. And so thank you for that. Please don't get burned out. I promise things will get better. So with that, let's talk about what our departments do. And a lot of this goes untalked about, unnoticed, unless you're in a crisis or unless you're participating in a program. So I think it's helpful to actually highlight by department, what each of these department heads are responsible for and what they do. And so I'm going to bore you with some additional sort of high-level metrics. There's so much that can go into each one of these departments, and every 6 months we actually ask the departments to present to the council and the community, what is the state of your department, and do a semi-annual report on the service levels and the impacts that they're experiencing. So we'll start with fire, because everybody loves a fire truck. So no preference here, but I'm going to start with the Utstein survival rate. So fire service, right, has evolved more and more into the medical response world, but at the same time, they continue to provide very good fire service, and I'll talk about that. But more and more so, medical response and our first responders from the fire department are first on scene when people are in crisis. And so Chief Zane, who's not here, he's having a well-deserved break in Hawaii, continues to track for me, how are we doing in the cardiac survival rate category? Often their crews, their staff are the first on scene when somebody's having a cardiac arrest. And so the 75% survival rate compared to where county average is and the state average of, I'm going to say 34% is what it says up there, is significant, right? So this means that anytime somebody's having a cardiac arrest and they're able to have a retrievable heartbeat, they're walking out of that incident with very little to no cognitive impact, right? So fire department's doing a tremendous job showing up on scene and providing high-level care. 87% containment of a fire in the room of origin. So when the fire department goes out to a fire, 87% of the time they're keeping that fire within that initial area of fire. And so as a result of that, what does that mean? Well, that means that fire is doing less damage, less disruption to the business and the residents that live there. And also in this past year, in 2025, $58.5 million of avoided loss just from had that fire spread and taken out the entire structure. So very important statistics. And so the fire department is doing a tremendous job with some resources, honestly, that are aged and outdated. And so to help protract the age of some of these fire apparatus, which if anybody's purchased a fire engine, right, it's over $2 million in 5 years to get your new fire engine to you post-COVID. And so the costs for these apparatus are expensive. We're borrowing from Davis right now, one of their decommissioned engines just to keep us going. So we've got some Band-Aids. But as part of that is, how do we reduce the wear and tear on our large, expensive apparatus? And so we've worked with the fire department, procured a grant, and have now deployed the smaller vehicle you see on the screen here, which is our squad unit, medical unit, so with the increase in medical calls, instead of sending out the big ladder truck or a fire engine, right, we're sending out the small medical unit, which creates less wear and tear, less fuel cost on the larger apparatus, and ultimately faster response time, because now that apparatus that's still at the station can deploy to a fire or higher acuity call. So just a little bit of insight into the state of the fire department. So let's move to the other important public safety category, the police department. So calls for service by the police department in 2025 have now exceeded 51,000. 33,000 of those calls actually were initiated by the community. So if you do the math on that, that's about 91 calls for service that are coming and initiated from the community to the police department that they need to respond to per day. Officers are also initiating calls. We're asking our law enforcement to be more and more proactive. And so as a result, our calls for service by officers initiating is now at 17,000. And 8,000 of those calls for service are actually traffic-related calls. And so officers are being more proactive when they see poor driving behavior or other characteristics. They're now addressing those drivers, pulling them over, resulting in 1 year 27% increase in DUI arrests. So that's 277 DUI arrests just in 2025, and that's 277 drivers that were impaired that are taken off the road and not ending up in the emergency room or somebody else. Freeing up and taking a different strategy and asking our officers to be more proactive, bearing fruit. And then the all-important topic about homeless, impacts. And so, working with the new chief and his staff, deployed some new strategies to help, again, be more proactive around managing some of the homeless calls for service and impacts. As a result, the May point-in-time count that we have done shows a reduction in homeless population in our community, 41%. Thanks to PD, but also, our partners at Fourth and Hope, and even Dignity, they're all part of this team to help us figure out how to provide service and manage this population, keep them from having repeat incidents and calls for service. Our calls for service that are homeless related are down 17%, so that's another validation that the population is not only declining, but we're doing a better job serving them and with our partners. Let's talk a little bit about PD staffing. So they're not immune, right? The staffing that has been added over the last 15 years didn't just go to PD. In fact, we have the same staffing levels in PD that we had 25 years ago. So has law enforcement gotten more difficult in 25 years? Absolutely. They have more calls for service, probably 2x, right? So they're stretched thin, and they're managing, difficult societal issues at the same time. To make matters worse, over the last several years, due to attrition and police officers retiring or on injury, they've actually been operating, with 13 officers below, which is actually authorized in our budget. How do you do that? Well, you backfill with staff that are on other assignment and taking them off of investigations or patrol, but also you add overtime to these officers that are already working full-time. And so a lot of wear and tear on an officer, given those calls for service, and now you're asking them to work overtime as well, just to maintain minimum staffing levels. And so, get the sense we're at a tension point there with the police department. And so over the last several years, we've been very good as we've had retirements and positions open up, hiring new staff. But we're at the point now, Chief tells me that 50% of our staff have less than 5 years on the police force, right? So we got a young core of new officers out there on the street trying to provide service. We have a very talented mentorship staff that is still around. But we have a very young law enforcement unit right now. So when you interact with the police, please keep that in mind. And thank you, Chief, and your staff for everything you do. I will say response times for priority 1 and 2 calls are starting to go up as a result. That means that the longer it's going to take for when you call 911 for an officer to arrive if it's got a priority 1 or 2 call. So There are impacts that our residents are starting to experience as a result of some of these staffing and calls for service challenges. But a few other key statistics that are more positive. If you look at property crime, robbery, burglary, vandalism, and theft, all of those are down double digits over the last year and a half. So again, credit to the staff for taking a different approach, the leadership there. And then 2025, 0 homicides, right? So if anybody's been around in Woodland for the last 5-10 years, you know, gun violence and violence in general has been a significant issue. And so to go an entire year without a single homicide in Woodland is something to be recognized. So thanks again. All right, so enough on public safety. Let's talk about the more fun stuff, community services. Annually, the Community Services Department serves about 41,000 individuals, right, in various programs that they offer, and services they provide. They're responsible for 575 acres of parks and facilities. There's 20,000 trees in this community that we're responsible for maintaining as part of our urban forest. So every time it's windy at night, I stay up all night, not worrying about my trees in my yard, but the 20,000 trees that are now subject to failure or limb fall. So credit to Christine and her staff for maintaining our urban forest, and for the council saying we need to continue to invest in maintaining that forest and doing so properly. It doesn't come without expense. We also have a 23-acre cemetery, right? So we're the only city in Yolo County that has its own cemetery, and it's a very historic one. There's 16,000 individuals that are buried there that their loved ones can come and visit. And if you've been to that cemetery, it's beautiful, but it's expensive to maintain. And you know, we provide services for burials for families that are in time of grieving. So not a typical community service function, but Christine and her staff do it very well. I don't think I get a single phone call throughout the year about the service that they received when they went to the Woodland Cemetery. And so thank you, Christine, for that. The Community Senior Center that's here and the sports park that's behind it, right, is almost a 24/7 operation, and there's so many activities and people that come to this property every day. It's been here for over 20 plus years, and you can hardly tell. It looks brand new, right? Our new aquatic center, if you haven't been there, just built next door, is another responsibility, but also an opportunity to provide service to our community. A good time to shout out, so that $15 million facility I mentioned was paid in cash, and not just by city resources. We leaned on our private sector community partners and raised $1.5 million of private funding to help pay for the capital construction, and now also help provide free public swim during the summer on certain days. And so a great opportunity where, you know, if you have a dream and a vision and you deliver on that promise, the community will step up and not only take advantage of it, but also help invest in it. All right, in addition to, you know, facilities activities, Christine and her staff host events throughout the year. They partner with all of our youth sports groups and adult sports groups here in our community. They host popular events like this one here, dive-in movie at the Brooks swim pool. So they go above and beyond, and they have fun with their events, and the community recognizes that. And then, you know, lastly, you know, like with every service that we provide, there's always demand and need for more. So whether it's the Woodland Soccer Club or the Woodland Tennis Club, thank you for being here, as well as Girls Fast Pitch, they're begging for more resource, more facilities. We don't have the money ourselves to build the facilities that they need, but we have provided land for them and given them a runway to go out and fundraise to make those facilities a reality. And so hopefully later this year, Woodland Soccer Club is going to break ground on 2 new soccer fields here that they will construct under a basically free lease from the city. Woodland Tennis Club is fundraising for their tennis complex that will complement our new swimming pool complex. And then the Girls Fast Pitch, and Skip Davies, if you met him, right, passion project for him, is half completed with private funding, and we're looking to prioritize getting those fields completed in the next year and a half. And I'm going to close real quick with youth. All right, so Christine and all these services we provide also includes the hiring and training and managing and coaching of 120 youth every summer that are able to get work experience, practical application of how to be responsible and show up to work, and learn those good life skills. And so they're employing and also providing volunteer opportunities for many youth within our community. All right, library services. Woodland, again, only city in the county that has its own library. So if you haven't been to the Woodland Public Library, just celebrated its 125th year, or 20, I can't even remember. 125 years, 150 years. No, it's 150 years, sorry. I'm looking at Tom because he's the fact man. 154 now, yeah, sorry. So that's an old library, Carnegie Library, but if you go inside that 154-year-old library, the services that are provided there are innovative and next level. And so I won't walk through all of these, but as you can see some of these stats, 140,000 people utilize the library and the services every year. 37,000 library cards that are handed out and managed every year. But library is doing a tremendous job, and kudos to the library board. Noelle Rodriguez is here, is on our library board that helps guide Greta and her team. And then moving on, because I know I'm running out of time, Public Works. So again, sort of unsung heroes in town, right? They take care of all the infrastructure, the roads, and so on. Over 250 roughly miles of roadway they're responsible for, and that includes sidewalks as well and streetlights. 1,261 potholes last year fixed, right? So if anybody's driven over a pothole, it's not fun. Well, our public works crews have a rapid response team, and so report potholes and they'll go out and fix it. But we have really old streets as well, right? Our library's old, our city's old, so are our roadways, all the infrastructure underneath the roads. And then I think one of the more impressive things that our public works and our engineering team have done, again with leadership from our current council and beyond, is our water system. So everybody, we talked about this enough, but I can't say it enough to hit home, but we were on groundwater for the majority of the time up until about 2014, 2016. That groundwater was getting contaminated, getting more and more competitive with ag users and whatnot in drought conditions. So we leaned in, partnered with Davis, UC Davis, and Conway Ranch to deliver a river water project. So we now deliver 3.67 billion gallons of water to this community to meet its needs. But that water is cleaner, more reliable, and healthier than it was before. But to double down, right, we now have aquifer storage recovery wells, 3 in towns. We take winter water, which is more or less free, we inject it into the ground, and we draw it out of the ground during the peak summer months and when drought season is in effect. And we're about to build one more of those aquifer storage recovery wells in Everman Park. And so we continue to make strategic investments so that when those drought years come, we're well positioned to ensure that our businesses have the water and the households have the water that they need. All right, community development. You know, we could talk about community development for a long time, not just because I came out of community development world, but it's a tremendous department that deals with housing, building, economic development, code enforcement, business licensing. So tremendous amount of work there, but a lot of focus in the last 5-10 years has been around housing, how we're going to help solve the housing crisis. But just a few highlights here that are worth noting. In 2025, we only issued 100 building permits. That's not because we're a hard place to do business. That's because we're running out of residential building stock to build single-family homes. Financing is difficult for our multifamily projects. So the staff is doing a great job to try to keep these projects moving forward, including the Research and Tech Park, which will be our next housing opportunity in addition to employment. But of note here, the picture on the screen is the Tupelo project, and many folks in this room have made this project close to a reality. Ian Evans in particular. His staff doing a fantastic job in partnership with the city. The city has leaned in and loaned several $1 million to the project. Went out and secured $28 million state grant to help pay for not just the housing project, but infrastructure, as well as transportation improvements. And of course, Gina mentioned Dignity Health, also leaning in to make sure that this Tupelo project, which is in our poorest neighborhood in the community, Ulano Donnelly, if you've been there, needs reinvestment. And so this is a catalyst project to help revitalize that neighborhood, bring better services, and bring better health outcomes as well to that neighborhood. So absolute kudos, but Erica and Brent and her staff that have helped sort of navigate the planning and entitlement process also deserve recognition. There you are. So thank you, Erica. And I'll mention code enforcement. This is another function of community development that just goes unnoticed and regularly punished, but we have code enforcement issues all over our community. The high-profile ones like County Fair Mall and Long John Silver's. And Genesis, that's no dig on you and your family that own Long John Silver's. Thank you. But we're spending a lot of time working with these property owners to try to figure out how to reposition those, and in the process of repositioning, keeping them from further blight and decay and attractive nuisances. So tremendous amount of time goes into working with those property owners to try to improve those properties. And then lastly, because we have some cannabis retailer dispensary folks here, right? So Erica and her team went through a very lengthy and diligent process to vet 4 cannabis retail dispensaries that are now up and operational, and have really actually helped financially the city sustain some of the resources that we need to provide the community. So kudos to the planning staff for going through that process and our retail dispensaries for investing in our community. All right, almost done, I promise, but I was asked to talk about what's the status on the Woodland Research and Technology Park project. I mentioned at the last State of the City that this project is now fully entitled, ready to move forward. We are getting ready to receive a request to submit to the UC system a proposal for the plant project, which is an Ag Tech Innovation Center. We did, in fact, receive that request. We submitted alongside West Sacramento, Dixon, and Vacaville a proposal to the UC system to be the home to this new $250 to $300 million project. Here, so you might remember this image from last year. So we've submitted that proposal. We think absolutely the best proposal, and we're going to win it if they decide to build this facility, but it's very expensive, and they are pursuing and looking at another opportunity that, if it happens, I think it'll be good for the region. But through this process, we were able to not only sit in front of the UC A&R leadership and show the vision for the Research and Technology Park, which has inspired them to look at another project that they might even be more interested in landing in this project. And so more to follow, but hopefully in the next several months, you'll hear an announcement around a new opportunity for us to be home to a UC innovation project there. And I should also mention that through the process, we were able to attract one of the top industrial developers in the country, Trammell Crow, who said we would be very honored to be part of this project and be the master developer. Are we able to land this UC project? And so that's the status on the tech park. I will talk about, data centers, right, are sucking all the financing out of the planet. And so a lot of investment in data centers across the globe. We are not immune to interest in data centers. No data centers are going to go at the Research and Technology Park project. It just does not suit itself for those types of projects, at least the large-scale ones. But we do have land out in our industrial area that was intentionally planned for large industrial projects, warehouses, and including data centers. And so developers have expressed interest and explored with us, is it possible to locate there? There are no applications pending. Every conversation we have with developers is centered around, well, what's the power, impact going to be? What's the water impact going to be? Will there be traffic and, noise impacts? And then, more importantly, what's the economic job impact that is even worth considering? So, more to follow potentially on that, but at this point, it's all speculation, and interest does not materialize to anything that's real, largely because California is such a difficult market regulatory-wise to get a project built. They're focused in this AI race and data center race on other states. But it may be a matter of time. And then in other important news, you might have read that Bayer and Clark Pacific solicited the city to consider allowing our water and sewer utilities to be extended to their operations, which currently reside outside of our city limits, but also outside of our urban limit line. So this map here shows Clark Pacific to the north, Bayer Crop Sciences out to the left or to the west. Those existing facilities are currently on wells and septic, right? Major employers for our community and our county. We went through a process, performed environmental analysis, presented to the council an opportunity to not amend the boundary line of the urban limit line, because that was voter approved, but asked the voters, what if we amended the language to say we could extend sewer and water utilities no further than 1 mile to existing businesses outside of that urban limit line boundary. And so in June, the council approved that. Tuesday night, they approved submitting to the county and the elections office a ballot measure that will be for our voters, asking them if they think it's a good idea to allow utilities to be extended to these existing commercial businesses outside Woodland. And the language is written to allow other existing commercial businesses, but they're very small and very limited within that 1 mile boundary. And so look forward to that discussion going forward, but there's a lot of confusion around, is this urban limit line extension of utilities to accommodate a data center? Absolutely not. It's only to accommodate our existing commercial businesses and for the benefit of maintaining those jobs and those investments in our community. So feel free to ask any questions if you have about that. And then I'm going to close with some highlights. The state of our community is measured in many ways, but I would say almost most importantly, how is our education system performing and what are the metrics around that? So I reached out to Dr. Navarrete as well as Elodia, the president or the superintendent of the Woodland Joint Unified School District, and I said, hey, can you share with me some statistics about how the district is doing, and then I'll share some with the community college. But as you can see here, their graduation rates continue to stay above 90%. In fact, increased almost 1% this year over the year prior. So kudos to Woodland Joint Unified for continuing to deliver quality services, ensuring these high school seniors are graduating, but not only graduating, 40% of them are graduating with UC eligible criteria to get into a UC system. And so thank you for that. And they serve every day, the school academic calendar is in session, over 9,000 students, right, that show up to go to school every day and ensure they're getting educated in a healthy and safe environment. Now I'm going to close with Woodland Community College. Huge kudos to Dr. Navarrete and the staff over there and educators, but their numbers continue to defy trends in other communities. So as you see here, this year, 8,233 enrolled students. Within those enrolled students, 7.5% increase in enrollment year over year. Is that right, Dr. Navarrete? And then 705 graduating degrees this past May. So kudos to Woodland Community College for continuing to provide those skills that are necessary to lean into our employment base here in town, and we look forward to continued partnerships through Office of Education, Community College to align the skill sets with the industry needs here, particularly in Woodland. So I went way over time, and I apologize because I didn't practice ahead of time. So with that, I don't need to provide any closing remarks because our mayor has some insightful words to share that will be far more wise and insightful than I can offer. But again, appreciate the opportunity to share kind of the status of how things are operating here with the City of Woodland. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to drill deeper into any of these data points. And again, kudos to our staff, but also more importantly, our community partners that help us do more with the resource that we have each and every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. And in the interest of time, I won't read Tom's bio because I think everybody knows Tom. And funny story, I was at a San Francisco Giants game last year, and my wife and I sat by this lovely couple, and they told us they were from Woodland. And I said, "Oh, do you know Tom Stollard?" I said, "Of course. Everybody knows Tom Stollard, so he needs no introduction. Come on up, Mayor."
Thank you, friends. And does anybody doubt that Woodland is a well-managed city after that presentation? I hope you don't. First, I want to thank the Chamber for all the work putting this event together. The Chamber has always been an important player in our community. It's one of the first ways I got engaged back in the mid-'70s after I graduated from law school and opened up my storefront law office here in town. So the Chamber, thank you so much for all you do for our community. I also want to thank my colleagues on the City Council. It's a privilege to serve with them. Rich is here today. Did Tanya make it? Tanya did make it, thank you. I don't think David is here. Oh, David is here, bless you. Look at there in 2 corners of the room. And I think Myra might be away at the moment. But in any event, you know, it's a blessing to have a collegial city council. I don't know if you know it, but about a week ago Tuesday, the mayor of Fairfield resigned right in the middle of a city council meeting. Fighting isn't unusual among colleagues on city councils, and I'm very proud of the fact that that doesn't happen in Woodland. Part of it is, I think, it's just the nature of the kind of people we are and also the kind of community we have. We don't thrive on fighting. We like to get along, we like to get things done. Sometimes we wish there was a little more, perhaps, civic interest. As Ken mentioned, no one has come to any of our budget hearings. So is it safe to presume that people are happy with how we do our jobs, how we spend the money? Well, I think the proof is in the pudding. When you drive through this community or ride your bike or walk, you see a lot of things that are pretty good. And everything's not perfect, but I'd say it's pretty good. Recently, we had a Woodland Bikeway kind of inaugurational ride, and we left from Rick Gonzalez Park in Spring Lake and rode essentially a loop of, 11 miles? Around the community. And on a Saturday morning, I commend this activity to any of you. It'll amaze you how much is going on as you ride by. It's designed to go by our parks and our schools, and you see lots of people playing in the parks, lots of sports competitions going on. It comes by the community center, and this place is really busy. I don't know how many of you get here very often, but it is really busy. We have lots and lots of programs. And I couldn't be happier that we have these opportunities for people to get out of their homes and get together with one another and have fun. That's really, to me, what a community is about. And when you pass those parks, the grass is green. And they're well maintained. They've been mowed, they've been cared for. They're maintained. Things are fixed when they break. You know, this is the way we do business here, and it's the way we want to keep doing business here, and we just hope everybody continues to feel that way. So I just do want to pay homage to my manager. We are a city manager government. He is the chief executive officer. Our council acts like a board of directors. We create we determine policy, we make key decisions. He presents the issue to us and the choice, usually with a recommendation. And I can't remember the last time we opposed one of your recommendations. That's because he does such a good job. So, but I won't mention all those staff people because he really did it in his presentation, but it isn't just him, and he'll be the first to tell you that. He's got an amazing group of department heads, and those 323 people, you know, you can't be a slacker and work for the city of Woodland. People work hard. If you think you see extra people around a job site, it's because they gotta be there, because there's different skills required for different things. But the fact is, people work hard to keep this city functioning. I wanna mention, you know, I have watched Woodland over now 54 years. Meg and I came in 1972. And it was a very different era, you know, and I'm impressed with how Woodland has evolved over time. You know, I love the fact that people still think of us as a small town. A lot of people still think of us as a small town. At 62,000 people, we're a mid-sized city for California, if you didn't know that. Of course, we have the million people and up cities. There's a handful of them. And then there's the people in 100,000 cities, maybe 200,000. But then it drops quickly, and we're actually almost in the upper third of cities by size, if you actually consider it. But we haven't lost the sense that we always had of being a small valley community. And I'm really proud of that. And I always worried about the southeast area. Would they be, I used to call them on-ramp people. Sorry, friends. You know, were they just getting on the on-ramp and going somewhere else? They didn't care where they lived. But that's not the case. Our beautiful southeast area has integrated itself into the community. The people there care about our community just as everyone before them has. And I think that's a tribute to good planning. It's a beautifully designed area. It has a lovely high school, has a brand new elementary school. Well, it's not brand new anymore, but it's relatively new, isn't it, Elodia? So it's taken its place in our community, and that beautiful bike overpass. If you haven't walked over that overpass or ridden your bike over it, it's really a cool thing to do. And you transition between the community center on this side and a lovely little park on the other side. And it just helps you feel that we're knitting together, even with 113 in place. So those are good things. But I also think Woodland has moved graciously from an era when the council was basically 5 older white guys to where today I'm the only white guy left on the council, if you didn't know that. And who cares? You know, we've got I remember when Rick Gonzalez ran for city council and lost by 1 vote. He would have been our first Hispanic member on our council. We've now named a park for him, which is a nice tribute. And we keep going forward, and we keep bringing new ideas and good things to bear. So even as we move through great challenges, we still show our resiliency, our collaborative behavior, and I would also say we always do so with a sense of calm. It's one of the things I love most about Woodland, is really, you know, there's a live and let live atmosphere in Woodland. I don't see people fighting one another very, very rarely. Sometimes there will be a neighbor conflict over a tree branch or some such thing. But for the most part, people are collaborative and get along. And I'm grateful that long before diversity, equity, and inclusion were fashionable and then became prescribed by our national government, Woodland just took it on and moved forward. Jesse, bless you for Concilio and all that good work you do over there. This last Tuesday night, we adopted our Juneteenth resolution because we're grateful to be a community for everybody. We adopted our Pride resolution too. Saturday morning at 10 at Elman, Maine, we're having our Pride Parade. You're all welcome to join us. And afterward at 10:45, we'll be at the Methodist Church for a little gathering. So we want people to feel comfortable and at home in our community. We know our schools are doing the good work to make everybody feel included. Our community college is doing it. I'm so glad, Ken, that you could bring those wonderful statistics out there. We all want to be better. We need to be better. We also are in a competitive environment, and we have to face that. It's not a bad thing. I remember when Spreckles Sugar was here, right? It was the big employer in town, and Mobile Chemical was here, and they had a big plastic bag operation in Woodland. Well, they're long gone, but things have come in consequence, and new things, in some cases, better things, in my opinion. Pacific Coast Producers, which operates our, you know, we have the world's largest tomato canning operation on Main Street. It used to be Contadina, and then Contadina basically, I don't know what, they folded or went out or whatever, but Pacific Coast Producers, that cannery is owned by 80 grower families in this community. And isn't that wonderful? It's our cannery, and those tomato cans are going out to the world. If you buy a can at Whole Foods or Sam's Club, it's the same tomatoes coming out of that Main Street cannery. And I think they've got 2 or 3 forward warehouses in the country where their product is shipped and held until the labels are put on for whoever is buying them for retailing them. So we are really proud of them and bless them for putting their tomatoes on your tables. I want to also thank Cobram Estates. This is the largest olive oil producer in Australia, and they picked Woodland for their site for U.S. operations. And I think they may eventually be the biggest olive oil producer and distributor in the United States. I don't know if they're there yet, but I think they'll get there. And they've also developed product on your table. And the good news is, we didn't want to overwhelm the table. There's more product on the table outside, so if you don't score one of those olive oil bottles, you might have to be on the way out, you might take another look at it. And then, you know, one of our big success stories is, bless his heart, Mike Finnecoon, sitting right here in front. He had his company in South San Francisco in 3 different buildings. Nobody gave a damn about him or his company. He had to fight everything. He's a fighter too, I can tell you that. And he came up and found a wonderful available warehouse in Woodland. I don't know if he bought it right away or rented it and then bought it, but he owns it now. And he's tripled the size of his operation since he's been here, making these terrific soup. A healthy option alternative to ramen. A whole lot less salt. And you know, Mike is so proud of his product, he texted me to tell you, the noodles are made with organic wheat, antibiotic-free chicken bone broth, no cedar palm oil, high protein, and minimal ingredients. Don't miss getting one of these. I eat them too, and I love them. Thank you, Mike. And I thank Dignity also for sponsoring our event today and bringing the nice water bottles. That's a pretty expensive water bottle they've made available to all of us. So thank you. I think I've covered the products on the table. Oh, the hive. Where's that hiding? There you are, the honey sticks from the hive. You know, we can always count on them to step up for anything going on in this community. The queen bee, bless you and your fantastic children. Did your daughter leave? Okay. And Josh over here. And if you haven't been out there, folks, you're really missing something special. There's honey tasting, amazing. You can tour if you're there at the right time. They do musical events and great food. So thank you. I apologize for missing you there. You know, I'm also proud of the fact that we are picking up on opportunities. There was a time when we were so laid back, we missed opportunities. I've been here, unfortunately, for some of them, but before I got here in the 1960s, Highway 113 was designed, and our dear friends in Davis took all the money. They got the nice flyover from 80, and then they wanted it undergrounded, running through their city, which is why it's undergrounded. And it stopped halfway to Woodland because they used all the money to underground that freeway. And we had to fight. This chamber fought for 20 years to get the additional money to extend 113 to the rest of the way to Woodland. And that's simply because we were asleep at the switch in the 60s when that part was being done. And even today, we do not have the additional 60 million to have flyovers connecting 113 to I-5. So if you wonder why you're sitting at the off-ramp on 113 North trying to get on a Main Street in the afternoon, it's because we don't have flyovers, but we're working on that. Our congressman got us $1 million to help further the planning. We're trying to acquire some of the land entitlement, the land necessary. And that's one of our great challenges going forward in the future. But basically, Woodland wasn't at the table at the time those decisions were made, and we had to fight after the fact. We also ignored grant opportunities for many years, in my personal view. And now we make sure someone's watching out for us in Washington. We're watching out in Sacramento. We're trying to keep our antenna up so that we're alert to opportunities and we don't miss out. We also, by the way, I'm a former county supervisor. I was elected in 1994 and I served 8 years. I was the first supervisor who lived in Woodland in 20 years. The district included a corner of West Sacramento and the guy before me lived in that corner. So Woodland was really neglected, and including when the tax revenue was set up for West Sacramento, where the store was basically given to them. That's another story. Okay. And then I arrived the year after Woodland decided to catch the tail end of the redevelopment wave, and they tore down the Elliott Building at 2nd and Main Street, our most beautiful historic building on Main Street, a 3-story sandstone block building, and it was torn down by the city as a misguided redevelopment effort. They also torn down the rest of the depot at 2nd and Main, the original train depot that I recreated as a personal project. And then also we had what we called the gravel parking lot where Heritage Plaza is, and the new former Democrat building. So, you know, I just would like to say that I think our city has evolved to recognizing we're not off by ourselves, even though we like to think so. Our little 17 square miles, 4 miles on the side, hello, we're 15 minutes from an international airport. We got an interstate running through our community. The world affects us whether we choose to, whether we like it or not, and we have to be engaged and be active. And we're in a competitive environment. Now, in Yolo County, we're collegial with our fellow cities, but there's a competitive environment. And the 3 other cities passed their 1-cent sales tax last November. We didn't. And you can see the difference in the number of employees we have. Now, we can be proud of the fact that we're efficient, but there's a point where efficiency leads to exploitation. And, our officers are absolutely amazing. They work really hard. Our firefighters work hard. All of our people work hard. And, they deliver what I think is a really good product for our community. So I just hope the community recognizes that, and all of us will engage for the interests of our future. We can't do it by spinning straw to find gold. I haven't found anybody that knows how to do that. We need money, and we need to do that 1-cent sales tax for this community, just like those other communities have done as well. I think Ken has proven to you that we are efficient with the use of our money. We spend intelligently. And I wrote so many other things, but I'm looking at the time. We're 3 minutes to when we're supposed to end this program. I think it's probably time for me just to stop there and to thank you. I'm grateful for the people of this community. I'm grateful for the business people, the job providers, the healthcare people who heal dignity. You heal people, you provide peace of mind to our community. We in the city are in the peace of mind business too. We'll be there for you if you have a police call. We'll be there for you if your property burns. Well, we will have a place for you to take your children or grandchildren because we've provided all the recreation options. Our library is probably one of the best libraries in the state. Not every library is increasing in circulation. Ours is. They're very forward-thinking and looking. But again, they deserve the resources necessary to continue all the good that's going on. So that concludes my remarks, but we have one more thing to do before we go, and I'd like to ask my colleagues from the council to come forward and join me for a minute. Come on up, Tanya, David, Rich. This building is about 25 years old, and it's carried a $26 million mortgage. Rich would rather burn it, but the fire marshal wouldn't like that. Tear up the mortgage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ken Hyatt. Thank all of you for being here today. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to chamber staff, everyone who's played a part in putting today together. We really appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. Have a great day.